Hello everyone, it is Sunday the 12th of March. Welcome back to the D3D4 football podcast dedicated to all things Leagues 1 and 2. We are still here, we are still going. Unlike the BBC, we are not in the mud. Unlike the BBC, we respect all opinions, even the ones where James massively overrates Walsall's chances of promotion in the season. There's no 20-minute exclusive highlights packages here. We are into the nitty-gritty of the third and fourth tiers once again. And there's three of us here to do it. Myself, Edward Walker, joined by James Richards and Chris Stringer. James, I hope you're well, mate.
Well, my team have lost 9 of the last 10, not winning any. I slammed my finger in a car door and it's now gone purple, and we just employed a manager with about as much charisma as a wet tea towel in a grey day
Apologise for asking.
in Swindon. So, yeah, it's not been a great week.
Could be better. Chris, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I've spent the weekend building furniture, so this is a nice break for me.
IKEA?
No, it's some...
It's got to be IKEA, Chris.
It's something that my partner ordered that you could also pay quite significantly more to get a professional person to do it, so obviously we chose to do it ourselves.
Yeah, but that's fun the part, though, the assembly. That's why I quite like it. It's quite satisfying putting a chest of drawers together yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's the baby level at IKEA. You know, we're moving up the ladders.
Fair enough. Finally, before we get going, this podcast is in partnership with The Big Step, which tackles football's relationship with gambling. There is an excessive presence of gambling adverts within football, and The Big Step continues to do great work to raise awareness about the dangers of gambling and the impact it can have on so many people's lives. Big thank you as well to all our Patron members. Those who sign up for as little as just £1 per month can get access to additional D3D4 daily podcast episodes throughout the week. They are produced by James, and they focus in depth on individual clubs and provide previews to some of the most eye-catching fixtures in League 1 and League 2 each weekend. You can sign up now at patreon.com/D3D4football. We will not waste any more time. We'll get going, and we'll begin as always with the world's best third tier.
League 1.
League 1, I'm going to kick this off. Loads of exciting games up at the top of the table. We've got to start right up at the top at Fratton Park. Portsmouth 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Sheffield Wednesday win, Sheffield Wednesday clean sheet, ditto, ditto, ditto. So I've just got the words ditto in my notes. I am officially out of new things to say about Sheffield Wednesday. They are true champions elect. Wasn't the level of dominance yesterday that we've seen from them in other matches this season, but once again, just doing everything they need to get the win. Their goal, incredibly basic. It's goalkeeper Cameron Dawson sending it upfield from the back, flicked on by Michael Smith, right into the path of Josh Windass, and a great low finish into the bottom corner. That comes 11 minutes in, and from there the Owls just deal with whatever Portsmouth throw their way. They cope with setbacks as well that include a first half injury to George Byers and a pair of yellow cards to Dominic Iortha before the end of the game. Sheffield Wednesday, simply, they're not just a championship side playing in League 1, they look a strong, competitive championship side playing in League 1. 22 games unbeaten now. They avoid defeat at home to Bolton Wanderers on Friday, and that is a full half season's worth of games without defeat. Since the start of 2023, they've dropped points just once in their league matches, conceded 4 goals this calendar year.
Wow, that's just ridiculous.
3 points clear at the top, 2 games in hand on second place. I remember, lads, we put Sheffield Wednesday top in our pre-season predictions. It always felt like the common, quite obvious thing to do. And there's a reason why, because they're that good. This group is just unbelievable. I wonder if anyone will actually beat them before this season is over. They've got 12 games left. They're going to enjoy all 12 of those. They are just marching their way towards the League 1 title and back to the Championship. And good on them. Phenomenal group that Darren Moore has got there. James, we're going to dissect another one of the really crucial games up at the top, and a significant one. Barnsley 3, Plymouth Argyle 0.
Yeah. Amazing result, isn't it? Barnsley cruised past Argyle at Oakwell to make it 10 games unbeaten in League 1. Michael Duff's side pretty much shaded a first half that was very quiet. The only real thing of note that happened in that first 45 was a disallowed goal from Herbie Kane, ruled out because Norwood was deemed to be offside in the build-up. Barnsley, I noticed they played an unchanged side from the one that beat Portsmouth midweek, and they're reaping the rewards for having such a settled side. It's very similar to the consistent lineup that Duff was able to use at Cheltenham during his successful spell there. He likes to keep the team as much as he can unchanged when they're winning, because I think he thinks it builds a relationship with each other, stability on the pitch, and it's working extremely well. They were a bit fortunate right after the kick-off of the second half when Ryan Hardy got cleaned through with only Ista to beat, but the keeper did well to sort of hold up the striker and dive at his feet to collect the ball. Hardy really should have done better, though. And he's one of those strikers that he scores a lot of really good goals, but he also misses.
I was going to say, I remember the
great
Derby
chances.
game midweek, and he lifted it over Wildsmith, didn't he? And I was kind of expecting him to do the same thing there. It felt like he had the time to do it.
I don't know if it's because it was so soon after the restart. He just seemed to freeze a little bit in front of goal, and I've noticed he does miss some easy chances, and that's one of the things with him as a striker, that he'll score quite a lot of more difficult ones than he'll actually miss, and then the easier ones you expect him to score, he just can't sometimes seem to get them in the net. I mean, I don't know. I've noticed that about him though recently, and I think this was just a bit unlucky. It came very quickly at the start of the second half, and Barnsley rode their luck there. But Adam Phillips opened the scoring, thumping the ball low into the bottom corner after good setup play by James Norwood. That's 6 goal contributions in his last 6 games for Adam Phillips. It's 4 goals and 2 assists, and he's been.
Do you understand yet why I love him?
Oh, I think.
Is it clear yet?
Yeah, he was such a good player, wasn't he? When he was at he was at League Two, wasn't he? Was he with Morecambe?
He was with Morecambe, yeah.
And we all were sort of raving about him, how technically gifted he was and what a player. And he's just gone to Barnsley, and Michael Duff's getting the best out of him there, and it's amazing to see. Mads Andersen doubled the Tykes lead with a header from a Bobby Thomas cross before the game was sealed in stoppage time by Nicky Cannon, who floated home a sumptuous free kick. It was a lovely free kick, this. Sumptuous. It was. Barnsley are on a tear and should be considered very much in the race for automatic promotion. They are currently 8 points, I think, behind Argyle with 2 games in hand, and they face Wycombe away, followed by Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich at home in their next 3 games, and that will tell us a lot about the true nature of this Barnsley side. If they can get 6 points maybe from those games, then they'll be in a great position. I'm quite worried about Argyle though. They have the 3rd worst XGA, so expected goals against, in League One at 57.37. Showing that they regularly give up good scoring opportunities. I think I spoke about this on a pod we did near Christmas, and they were the team that I chose, I think, to fall out of the top 2 places by the end of the season because of this. And I'm not saying Callum Burton's a poor goalkeeper, but Michael Cooper is elite. And his goal saved above expected is 11.26, which is absolutely exceptional. So with him out of the lineup, they've lost the ability to ride their luck when they give away all these good opportunities, because Michael Cooper is such a good keeper. He can pull them out of the brown stuff, let's be honest. And his 11.26 saved above expected is bettered only by Max Strychek at Wycombe with 11.32 and Connor Ripley at Morecambe with a massive 13.86 goals saved above expected. I mean, it's crazy. But yes, so that is a concern for Argyle, and it's one thing that I'm just put some doubt in my mind with Ipswich as well, doing so well recently.
Well, the good news for Argyle is that the next game is at home to Forest Green Rovers. So it literally cannot get easier for them next, and a good opportunity to bounce back, but they are going to have to wait till next weekend for that. This win was significant, Chris, because of what we found going on at the U-Bowl. Bolton Wanderers 0, Ipswich Town 2.
Yeah, well, James talking about Plymouth, sort of not quite convincing him at the moment. Ipswich are right on their tail. They've won their last 5 games. They're only 2 points behind Plymouth now. And I think it was a pretty good game, actually, at the Unibowl. Bolton will probably have come away from this feeling a bit disappointed with their performance. A little bit of a tight first half. Ipswich maybe slightly on top, and eventually took the lead bang on half-time. It was a really nice finish as well. Wes Byrne, who sort of ran half of the pitch, put a cross through to Hurst, who hit a volley from the edge of the penalty area. So really quite quick breakaway counter-attack. And a really, really lovely finish. Coming out in the second half, Bolton really had a spectacular chance to level things up with a penalty. Dion Charles stepped up, and it was saved by Christian Walton. Pretty good save, but a pretty soft penalty, and it's actually Charles' first penalty miss since he joined the club last year.
I think it's amazing, though, that Ipswich have kept 6 straight clean sheets. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. That is nuts.
They are looking just like a really strong side. I mean, as I say yesterday, Bolton will probably have been disappointed with how they played, but they weren't poor, and Ipswich just looked really in control of the game, and eventually sealed the win in the 68th minute. A Leif Davis corner in, and a bit of a bullet header from Cameron Burgess, but again, slightly poor defending. Probably should have been marked a bit better. But yeah, as I say, puts Ipswich 2 points behind Plymouth, but Bolton down to 6th, and probably thankful that Wycombe's form isn't too great, because they've now lost 3 of their last 6.
Greatly encouraged by Ipswich, though. I think we looked at the run they had. They had a run of 4 consecutive games against relegation battlers, sides you would expect them to beat, and they did go and beat them. And on occasions, at Portman Road in particular, they went and took them apart. You then looked at this game and thought, right, carry that confidence in. My God, did they do this here? And there's no doubt to me that Christian Walton really deserves plaudits for keeping that clean sheet.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. James, Oxford United 2, Derby County 3.
It's 10 games since we last won in the league. It's ridiculous. I actually haven't bothered to go and find out when the last time this is. It might be the first, because even in our awful 2000-2001 season,
it's worrying me how often you keep quoting that season.
Mate, that was a season where we conceded 100 goals. We finished plumb bottom. We were the first team in the EFL, I think in the top 5 division actually, to get relegated. That's how bad it was. And yet we never went 10 games without a win during that campaign. This is how bad it is for Oxford. We've lost 9 of the last 10. It was spirited, to be fair, against Derby. The Rams made several changes to the 11 that started against Argyle. Most notably, Lewis Sibley came in as the number 10 rather than his usual left-back role, which he's filled in really in the season. He's quite a versatile player. And Oxford took an early lead. Sam Long headed in James Henry's free kick. But that was about as good as it got, because Lewis Sibley equalised within 10 minutes. Then he doubled his tally with another good strike. As good as they were, both goals are examples of why Oxford are in the situation they're in. Just such bad defending, opportunities to clear the ball not taken, very scrappy, and just not convincing at all. And then obviously, if you saw the third goal, James Collins it came off his shoulder, I think, and hit the back of Sam Long, and squirmed away from Simon Eastwood to make it 3-1. Again, highlighting it's so simple, that goal. It just highlights why Oxford are really poor at the moment at the back. It was a straightforward cross, and Collins wasn't even close in. There was not a huge amount of pace on it. He got a bit lucky with it coming off the Oxford man, but it still goes into the corner. Carl Joseph made the last few minutes a bit nervy with a decent finish from a breakaway, but it's another defeat. It leaves new boss Liam Manning with a lot of work to do, and that's not particularly something I'm quite nervous about Liam Manning being announced as our new boss, if I'm honest.
Do you feel confident that you'll stay up at the moment?
No.
No, because I mean, that's you look at the likes of Morecambe, who are not necessarily getting the best results, but they're really fighting to stay in the league, and MK Dons, who got a win yesterday. It looks, I'd be very nervous as an Oxford fan.
Trust me, I've got spare underwear every match day at the ready. I mean,
might as well do 2 sets.
The problem with Liam Manning is that he has been in charge of MK Dons and done very well when they had the likes of Harry Darling, Scott Twine, Dan Harvey in midfield. He had a great team and he did very well with them. But as soon as that talent wasn't there, he really struggled this season. And when they were on a bad run of form, he had no way of turning it around. He didn't inspire the team. He wasn't able to get them riled up and turn their fortunes around. And he's coming into a team in Oxford who are just as bad as MK Dons in terms of confidence levels, and probably lacking any real talent that can change a game for you. I mean, we've let Matt Taylor go to Port Vale and he's scored. So I do worry. I mean, he's no doubt he's a good coach. He's a guy who's very bright. He's got great sort of, I guess, pedigree, but
it feels like someone you'd appoint in the summer.
I completely agree with you there, Chris. I was going to say I would feel really different about this if it was post-season.
Yeah,
I'm quite excited about it because I do think quite a lot of Liam Manning.
Because you I saw Michael Appleton was linked with the job, and you'd have a bit of confidence in him keeping the squad up, which is the primary objective at the moment. Manning, I feel like he can be a very good manager if he's got a summer to build a squad and work with them one-on-one as a coach, but there isn't the time for that at the moment.
He lacks a bit of charisma as well in the old interviews. It's very.
Would you rather have Manning or David Unsworth, though?
We're not doing this, are we?
Well,
just because Unsworth was linked with the job, not just.
I don't think that was a genuine link. I know Chance.
Well, he was actually linked to Oxford before, so it might have been. He was linked to Oxford before, but
no chance.
He was offered the job in the past, I think.
I'd take Manning over Unsworth personally. I think because Manning is actually, I think, a good coach, and I just think it's a difficult situation he comes into here because we don't even have a hierarchy to help him out in place.
That's a big worry.
That's the big worry.
For sure. Burton Albion 2, Wycombe Wanderers 1. Third win in 4 unbeaten home games for the Brewers. Another example of the transformation that has happened under Dino Mamres since the end of the January window. They were 2-0 up in this game inside 20 minutes through Dale Taylor and Joe Powell, part of a really strong first half showing from Burton. Right at the end of the first half, though, there is a straight red card to Deji Oshilaja for a foul on Lewis Wing. It's hard not to look at that moment and wonder if it could maybe be a turning point, especially when you consider that Wycombe Wanderers are playoff chasers who really cannot afford to be dropping points in a game like this one. Second half sees Wycombe's attempted onslaught, but Burton largely holds firm throughout. I really did admire Marmur's tactical decision at half-time. He goes with a double substitution, shifts Burton away from a back five formation that been regularly playing into a 4-3-2. He still wants to keep playing two up top, looks to avoid getting his team camped into their own half and looking to hang on throughout the entire second period. Double sub for Wycombe on 70 minutes gives them real attacking impetus, and they win a penalty towards the end of the match. I know that the Six Nations are going on right now, so I did actually really appreciate Joe Jacobson getting into that Welsh rugby spirit by firing that spot kick right over the crossbar. It was a really nice conversion from him, so I think there's bonus points for that. Wycombe do get a goal. Gibraltar international TJ DeBar, his first EFL goal. Not particularly impressed that a guy of his height is winning a header from a corner. That's a bit disappointing. There is no equaliser though, and Burton Albion pick up a significant win over the team that is 7th in the League One table. The Brewers are 5 points clear of the relegation zone now, with 2 games in hand on all of those currently in the bottom 4. Lovely position to be in. Wycombe Wanderers have the chance to immediately bounce back away at Bristol Rovers on Tuesday night. James, how about another game between a relegation battler and a playoff side? What a result this is. Peterborough United 0, Cheltenham Town 3.
Yeah, quite contrasting views from managers after the game as well. But Alfie May just continues to show what a special player he is.
I'm out of words for that man.
Thoughts echoed by Wade Elliott as well after their really impressive 3-0 win at London Road. 2 goals of the highest standard and an all-round great performance from Cheltenham gave them a thoroughly deserved win. Wade Elliott did dedicate this game to Albie Coates, a well-known supporter who passed away recently, and he was absolutely delighted with his players for how they went about their business. It was a solid performance from moment one until the end of the game, but the same can't be said for Darren Ferguson, who called his team unprofessional and even said they were terrible in the warm-up and appeared as though they thought they'd just walk this game easily. Really embarrassed by his team's performance, and he ripped into his team big time after the game, basically saying they were unprofessional, they didn't prepare properly, they thought they were going to walk it, and he said he could have even made 5 subs after 10 minutes. That's how mad he was with the way they went about their business from the get-go in this. So really, really poor from Peterborough.
Do them well with the confidence, that kind of a comment.
Well, he's saying they should be challenging for automatic promotion with the squad they've got, and they're so far off it. And I'm not sure I echo his sentiments, but I do understand that Peterborough had ambitions this summer of being a side that could get at least in the playoffs, I would have thought. And they've been just not able to be consistent enough. I mean, this performance was pretty dire. Cheltenham went in front from a corner, turned home by Tom Bradbury. Nice to see him get a goal because he's had a bit of a struggle adapting from his move up from Halifax in the summer. But yeah, he's come good in the last few games. And then Alfie May netted with what I can only describe as a sensational strike from the halfway line. And it wasn't just the strike, was it? It was the way he got the ball down with his first touch, moved it away from the Peterborough man, and then just blasted the volley over the keeper, who scrambled to keep it out but just couldn't get back in time. The only real positive in this game for Peterborough, and I mean there wasn't any real ones, but Joe Ward's effort against the bar was about as good as it got, and they created very little in general. And then Alfie May's second was just another superb strike, almost reminiscent of the one he got the other week in their home game. Who was that against? Do you guys remember? It was last weekend, I think, wasn't it? We smashed.
Oh, was it Cambridge maybe?
Yeah, it was the 1-0.
Crucial game.
Yeah, it was their 1-0 win, and he scored that absolute beauty. Well, this is very reminiscent of that. It was the icing on the cake. And Wade Elliott might treat himself to some chocolates from the Gloucestershire services if he made it back before they closed, because that's his kind of turning out to be his tradition after a good win.
What an unbelievable player Alfie May is.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know there's a mural at the club. I'm begging him to build a statue.
Doncaster got rid of
They
this
paid
guy.
£5,000 for this guy from Doncaster Rovers.
Yeah, Doncaster got rid of him. He was a player I always signed when I was a League Two club on Football Manager when he was at Doncaster, because he just had those stats, didn't he? Which, he just works hard, he's busy, he's quick, and he's just grown in confidence at Cheltenham to become. I mean, he scored 50 league goals now for them, 50 EFL goals for Cheltenham since joining them, which is wonderful.
Servant.
What a player.
Iconic servant of the club. What a player. What a win for Cheltenham. What a disastrous day for Peterborough United. Chris will stick down the bottom of the table with the relegation battlers and a crucial win in the relegation zone. Milton Keynes Dons 1, Cambridge United 0.
Yeah, 2 sides in the relegation zone, and boy did it feel like it. Not a classic. Cagey start to the game, both felt a bit nervous to make mistakes to me. Very few clear chances, and I think Cambridge probably came into the game a little bit first and slightly edged with the chances. Jack Lancaster was making himself a bit of a nuisance and actually had a goal disallowed for offside. Not totally sure where the offside was, but that was the decision in the end.
It's one of those interfering with the goalkeeper's line of sight ones, wasn't it? Or something?
Yeah,
it wasn't one of the really clear ones, but yeah, so they were frustrated to have a goal disallowed. And then the deadlock was eventually broken by a pretty spectacular Moisa free kick, curling over the wall and into the top left-hand corner. And really, that kind of shut the game out a little bit. I think it was a game of fine margins, and I think that goal was just enough to give MK Dons a little bit more confidence than Cambridge. There weren't too many clear chances for the rest of the game. And eventually they saw it out. So yeah, not a classic, but a much needed win for MK Dons. They're currently 22nd, Cambridge in 23rd. Cambridge on 30 points. They're now 5 points behind Accrington. It's looking like a bit of a task for them, but MK Dons, they'll still feel like they've got a bit to play for. 33 points, just 2 points behind Accrington. So fingers crossed to them.
You have to feel so, yeah. That's a really crucial home win for MK Dons because they've had the league's worst home record up to now. And I think that win has taken them above Forest Green Rovers on goal difference in the home table. Both got 13 points from the home matches, miserable returns.
I'm just happy that Oxford's goal difference is only -10, which is, compared to everyone else down there, like an extra point.
It is a point, yeah.
At the minute, yeah, but the way you're sounding, James, that could get lower.
Oh, God. Dear, oh dear.
Chris will keep down the bottom. Shrewsbury Town 3, Morecambe 1.
Yeah, bit of a let off for Morecambe, really. But fantastic form for Shrewsbury. 5 home league wins in a row now. But yeah, as I say, really disappointing for Morecambe, who are down in 21st and actually had a chance to move out of the relegation zone here. They said playoff zones there. That would be good for them.
I wish it was playoffs. I'm excited about
that. Yeah, Shrewsbury went 2 up in the first half, and it must have been really disappointing for Morecambe. First one was the Luke Lee penalty. It was a Crawley handball from a corner. I'd need to see it again. It looked a little bit harsh to me. It came in quite quickly, and I thought he was in a sort of strange angle. It was a bit of a weird one, which they finished. And then the second goal was for Rob Street, which was a bit of a tap-in, following a flick on from a Tom Bayliss corner. I thought Tom Bayliss had a fantastic game yesterday.
He usually does.
He put the corner in, which resulted in the penalty, and then also not quite an assist, but an assist of an assist for this one. Bang on half time, Dan Crawley pulled one back, got the ball on the edge of the penalty area and curled it into the bottom corner. And in the second half, Morecambe thought they'd pulled off the unimaginable. They thought they were level in the 64th minute, but Rawson was judged to be offside, and the win was eventually sealed for Shrewsbury in the 84th minute. He got onto an unchallenged header. Probably should have been defended better by Morecambe, but Shrewsbury, they'll be delighted with a 3-1 win. They're currently in 8th place. It's still a tough ask for them to make the playoffs, 8 points behind Bolton. But who knows? They looked really good yesterday.
Yeah, very faint chances to Shrewsbury, but they're definitely. And by the way, at the end of 8th this season, what a campaign that has been under Steve Cotterill.
Yeah,
really, absolutely. Really strong to them. Morecambe, I think we discussed with MK the home record. Problem for Morecambe is their away one. 8 points collected on the road, same as Cambridge, right down the bottom of the table. They've really got to pick things up away from home. I know that in the week they announced the signing of Umar Niasse, the former Premier League striker, was at Everton, at Hull City, was at Burton Albion this time last year.
Yeah, I actually missed that on Friday. My Twitter wasn't working, so I didn't quite manage to see the signing. I was a bit surprised to see him included on the bench on Saturday, and I was like, oh, blimey. They needed someone, though, didn't they? With the injury to the chap they got on loan from Burley, I think it's Mellon, he came in.
Yes.
He's had to go and have an operation. So that's his season finished. They lost Kieran Phillips to an injury, who had to go back, cancel his loan from Huddersfield. So they've been a bit unlucky, and I think Cole Stockton is the only real striker they've got without Niasse joining, and so they needed to do something, I guess.
They're not lacking fight, Morecambe. I mean, if anyone's going to break out of this, I'd be going for Morecambe. They are really,
you
really...
do believe in them at the Mazuma. At home, definitely. The problem is that away record is so bad.
We've got to go there next, actually, Oxford. That's going to be fun, isn't it?
That's an exciting one, actually. That's one to keep an eye on.
I don't know if exciting is the word, Chris.
Well,
it's
an
exciting one.
Exciting in its consequences, maybe.
Yeah.
Intriguing is a word I'd use.
I'm an Oldham fan. I'll take any battle.
Fair enough. Forest Green Rovers 1, Bristol Rovers 3. I genuinely am starting to feel really sorry for Forest Green Rovers. They are still yet to win a game under Duncan Ferguson. They've lost all but 2 matches since the Scot took charge. It's abundantly clear that this team just is not good enough for League One level. Having said that, they've not really been taken apart that often under Ferguson. Narrow defeats quite a lot. There's a few games actually where they have taken the lead before losing that lead due to just really substandard defending. It's just the same old story with Forest Green again here. That's what happened at the new lawn.
It's a strange thing that they were so bad before that an incremental change of only losing by 1 or 2 goals is actually quite a marked improvement.
Yeah, Ian Bircham's gone to, was it Anderlecht or somewhere?
Yeah, Birchnell's had a weird one, hasn't he? He was Notts County this time last year in the National League, and he's now the Anderlecht assistant.
Crazy.
Seems to be failing upwards, that man. I'm quite impressed by him. Got to mention FGR's opener, Charlie Savage, Robbie Savage's son. First senior goal for him. He's a January signing who came on a loan from Manchester United. He's established himself as one of the starters at the base of midfield. There's a really nice clip going around from BT Sports Score where Robbie's on the show and he's reacting to the news coming through that his son scored. You can't not smile watching it. It's a really lovely moment to see. Bristol Rovers have got the game turned on its head before half-time, though, and they had a third in the second half, a brace to John Marquis on the day. Forest Green get a late penalty, missed by Corey O'Keefe, and I don't really get why he's the one taking it. I looked at the players out on the pitch at the time. I don't think O'Keefe would have been the one I would expect to be stood over it. I'm still not quite sure why Duncan Ferguson sees him as a right winger in a 4-2-3-1, which is where he's been starting regularly since he's come in. I mean, we know Corey O'Keefe is a really versatile player, but I wouldn't have ever expected to see him that far forward, and it is quite a weird sight seeing a man with the number 2 on his back that far up the wing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's more of a wing back normally, but he is versatile. He plays left side, right side, and
he does.
Yeah, I mean, I just guess it's needs must as well. Who else is there that can play in that role?
I suppose you have to say that. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
it's just a matter of time before Forest Green, really before their relegation gets confirmed. They are 7 points adrift of 23rd. They are 12 points from safety, and I'm really sorry to do this, but I've got to mention the next 6 games, boys. Plymouth Argyle away, Sheffield Wednesday at home, Portsmouth away, Derby County at home, Wycombe Wanderers away, and Barnsley at home.
That's grim.
That is just kicking the while they're down. That's brutal.
That's nails in the coffin every single game, isn't it? Oh,
that's horrible.
Yeah.
Really feel for them. This has been a rough first season in League One, really has. And I think we all know it's going to end. Just a matter of time, really. 3 more games are going to run through to League One. Exeter City 2, Lincoln City 1. Lincoln's opener coming from Paddy O'Connor away at St James Park. Exeter's equaliser is a really, really funny goal. It's just really funny to watch. It's an awful back pass from Sean Rowan to Lincoln. Carl Rushworth is not where he thought it was going to be. He's out of his goal on one side. And Sam Nombi just speeds onto the loose ball and rolls it into the empty net.
Easy.
Really, really weird goal to look at. Quite funny. Nombi actually gets a second in the second half that proves to be the winner. Exeter finish the game with 10 men after 2 yellow cards to centre-back Alex Hartridge, but they hang on. Charlton Athletic 1, Accrington Stanley 1. Accrington's opener is from Sean Whalley on what was his 100th appearance for Accrington Stanley. I forgot he had a previous spell before he came back from Shrewsbury. He's been actually involved with the club for quite a long time. Charlton's equaliser is Steven Sessegnon from absolutely miles out.
What a goal.
Ridiculous range this was. The angle from behind is on Charlton Athletic Twitter. You need to see it. It is a beauty. I cannot ignore the big group of pigeons on the pitch that fly away as the ball flies over them into the net. How long has that Accrington box been left undisturbed for that many to decide that was a safe place to land?
Yeah, that's well. They could easily go into any goalmouth that Oxford are attacking at the moment and know that they're going to be perfectly
It was quite a weird sight seeing all the pigeons just suddenly fly away, but what a goal from Sessegnon in the draw at the Valley. And Fleetwood Town 1, Port Vale 1. Port Vale's opener, who was it, James?
I don't want to talk about this, please.
It's Matthew Taylor, who we still remember him. Still can't understand why he left Oxford for Port Vale. Fleetwood's equaliser eventually bundled over the line by Jack Marrett, his third since arriving in January. Run through the League One table to finish. Sheffield Wednesday. charging to the title, really. 77 points, 34 games played. Plymouth Argyle are a bit behind them. They're on 74, having played 36. Ipswich Town eyeing up second in third place, 72 from 36. Barnsley are fourth on 66 from 34. You got Derby County in fifth on 64 from 36. Bolton Wanderers wrapping up the playoff places on 63 from 37. Wycombe Wanderers and Shrewsbury maybe still have outside chances. Wycombe have got 57 from 35. Shrewsbury 55 from 36. Down at the bottom, Forest Green, I don't want to keep talking about them. It's really getting brutal for them. 23 points from 36 games is a miserable return. Cambridge United 23rd, 30 from 36. Milton Keynes Dons 22nd on 33 from 36. Morecambe 21st on 33 from 36. Accrington Stanley have got 2 games in hand on them. They're 20th from 35 from 34. Oxford United now with Liam Manning at the helm, 19th from 36 from 36. Burton Abbott 18th on 38 from 34. And Charlton Town 17th on 40 from 36. Let's drop down and take a look at the world's best fourth tier.
League 2.
League 2, I am going to kick this off with Crewe Alexandra 4, Salford City 3. This game took place on the Friday night, and it probably got missed by quite a lot of people because it was happening at the exact same time that the whole match of the day farce that was causing a meltdown at the BBC. Just all those pundits, presenters, commentators withdrawing their involvement from the programme. I'm fully behind them all, by the way, because good on them for uniting that decision against Gary Lineker. At the same time as that, though, there was just this absolutely bonkers football match at Gresty Road. Crewe Alexandra's season is pretty much done. They're not going up, they're not going down. It's been a pretty forgettable campaign for the Rowomen. The kind that I think fans might look at and think, is there really much point in staying invested in your games to the end of the season? You get matches like this, though, and you suddenly realise, that's why I keep going. Moments like this can actually happen. The lead changes hands 3 times in this game. Salford initially winning, Crewe then winning, Salford then winning, and then Crewe winning. Among the 7 goals are some really nice strikes and some really appalling mistakes as well. Among the goals I like are Crewe's second goal that puts them 2-1 up. It's scored by Joel Taberner. It's his first senior goal. He's having a breakthrough campaign at Crewe Alexandra. I cannot ignore the fact that it's just gifted to him by Salford. Ryan Leake plays the pass straight into his path. Alex Keynes is off his line. Joel Taberner says thank you very much and just chips it into the empty net from range. Great technique all the same. Salford's second goal to bring things level before half time is a very nice acrobatic volley from Callum Hendry. Salford go 3-2 up in the 85th minute with a nice low hit from the edge of the box by Stevie Mallon. I noticed that this goal led to Gary Neville himself being the latest to fall foul of the Golden Rule boys. Never tweet about a football game until the final whistle. Yeah. He puts that tweet out celebrating Salford going 3-2 ahead, and right as he posts it, Crewe equalise.
Yeah.
People never learn. This equaliser, it's actually quite inventive, this equaliser. It's a back heel from centre-back Conor O'Riordan. He's got quite a good story, actually. Crewe loaned him out in the first half of the season to Scottish Championship side Dundee. He impressed there. He's come back into the team, really starting to establish himself in that Crewe defence. And his return's timely as well, given he has just returned from a 1-game suspension right as Rod McDonald starts a suspension of his own. So literally just a light-for-light switch for Lee Bell. I forgot the Crewe manager's name then. Lee Bell in the Crewe team. 3-3 in the 87th minute, and just to make sure Gary Neville fully regretted that tweet, Crewe go and get a 90th minute winner. Shot from range, spilled by Alex Keynes, into the path of Dan Ajayi, rolls in a second of the game. His 12th this season in League 2. Really nice return from him.
Ex-Oxford striker scoring goals.
Ex-Oxford striker score. Yeah, he's been good. They've missed Courtney Baker-Richardson for a while, but he's been stepping up to the plate really well. Doesn't really do much to Crewe other than give them a night to remember in Cheshire. I am once again asking, how are Salford City still in the playoff places? They are nowhere near consistent enough to merit being where they are, and if they're capable of putting in disaster displays like that one on Friday night, I don't think any of us would fancy them for a successful playoff campaign if they ended up in there. Just a horror show of a night from Salford and a crazy game at Gresty Road. James, up to the top, Stevenage 3, Walsall 1.
I'm just going to start this off by saying I accept no responsibility for the current plight of Walsall Football Club. It's weird what's happened to them, isn't it?
You don't have to accept it, but it doesn't change reality, James.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it is strange.
Leave them alone is all I ask.
Yeah, it's a vital win for Stevenage. Before we talk about Walsall, they have been looking over their shoulder quite anxiously of late. I don't know whether teams have sort of understood how they're playing or have been able to combat them quite well. But it was always going to be the case against the Saddlers that they're going to have a great chance of winning, given that it's now 11 games without a win for Mike Flynn's side. Unlike Hartlepool, where they fell apart late on, they got their self-destructing out of the way early in this one, falling 2 goals behind within the first 14 minutes thanks to a Josh March goal, his first for the club, and a Luke Norris second, making it 2-0. Manny Moth pulled one back, but Stevenage restored their 2-goal advantage before the break when March added his second. It's really strange because obviously 11 games without win, loads of them have been drawn, but I don't know what's happened to Walsall. I mean, Danny Johnson obviously going back to Mansfield has really hit their opportunities to score. I think Liam Bennett going back to Cambridge has changed the dynamic of their balance and the way that they were playing. I thought he was an excellent wing back and they never really replaced him. So a lot of fans suggesting that they've just lost this natural balance across the team. But Flynn's really disappointed with the performance, describing it as men against boys, saying his team are out-muscled. And he said the players are now playing for their future if they want new contracts, which is always a sign of a desperate situation when a manager uses this in his interview to try and push his players in sort of the motivation to stakes. And I don't know if it will work because Walsall just, for some reason, I still like their squad and I still don't understand. I mean,
Jamil Matt doing it again, Chris.
Well,
give over, James.
Jamil Matt and Matty Stevens have been, underwhelming additions compared to what we all expected them to be. They scored so many goals together in their time at Forest Green. But again, we've already talked about the fact that Walsall don't have the wing backs that Forest Green did at the time. Nicky Cadden, of course, Kane Wilson were the two in Nailsworth who were so lethal and so good at assisting goals when they were playing for Forest Green. And I just don't think the service has been there for Matt and Stevens. And Stevens is coming off a bad injury, but it's much better from Stevenage. It's just their second win in the last 7 games, but they can take a lot of heart from the performance, especially in that first half, and it gives them a little bit, I say, of breathing room between themselves and Northampton. But it's a really tight race for promotion spots as Walsall look to be set for another season in the 4th tier.
Switch to formation for Stevenage is notable here. Went to a 4-4-2 diamond. Normally been playing a 5-3-2. Had to change a bit because Terence Van Kooten's been out. Little fact for you boys. Stevenage played their 6th different goalkeeper this season yesterday.
Yeah, I've noticed they've had loads of them, haven't they?
It's all because of injuries. John McCracken's the latest one to come in. He's an emergency loan from Norwich.
I saw that, yeah.
What's their goalkeeper coach doing?
No, it's just injuries. That's part of the problem for them.
Toby Savin was recalled though, wasn't he?
Toby Savin got recalled because Accrington got a red card on Tuesday at Ipswich, which meant that Lucas Jensen was unavailable to play. So they got Toby Savin back in because they don't trust Liam Isherwood yet.
Well, he's also got a thigh injury, so he couldn't really play the whole 90 minutes.
Well, there you go then. So, yeah, I think Stevenage's goalkeepers this season is Aaron Chapman, Tay Ashby Hammond, Adam Prusbeck, Jokol Anderson, Toby Savin, and now John McCracken, who's in from Norwich on a temporary basis.
Jesus.
The consistency in goal would be quite nice for them to have, and it might be a bit of a reason why they've had this little dip in form. But to be honest with you, I think they're more impressed at McCracken than they were Savin because he wasn't really pulling up any roots in that emergency loan they had. Nice win, though, all the same. James, Swindon Town 1, Carlisle United 2.
Yeah, there were some positives from my weekend, I suppose, and Swindon losing to Sir Paul Simpson's Carlisle is one of them. He continues to work his magic, and Carlisle nabbed a winner deep into stoppage time against the Robins. Ryan Edmondson headed home his 6th.
You've got to be so annoyed with that winner. He is on his own.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's awful marking. Terrible.
It's like he's got some sort of Jedi force around him when no one marks him. And Owen Moxon, he can pick out anyone. That's his another assist. I don't know how many he's got now. Is it 14, 13 assists?
I think he's on 13.
Yeah, I mean, crazy from a guy they picked up from Scotland, the Scottish leagues. They have very good connections with some of the. I think it's Abbott, who used to be at Carlisle, who sort of gave the management team the nudge that this player is worth taking. And Moxon has been brilliant since coming to Carlisle, and he's ruled the game from midfield in most of their matches. But Edmondson's goal, nice and simple, 6th minute of stoppage time to get the winner. But Swindon, I mean, they had a few chances in this one. Charlie Austin coming close a couple of times, but the deadlock wasn't broken until Jack Armour's lovely strike after the break. I think it was Charlie Austin's header that actually hit his own crossbar, and it looked like Swindon had got the danger clear, and then Jack Armour thumps it back into the top corner about 30 yards out, and absolute brilliant finish from him. But Carlisle were, pegged back. Tyree Shade looked to a bag a point for Swindon when he finished well from with just 10 minutes to go. But then, like I said, Owen Moxon gets his assist from the corner, and Carlisle keep going. And they've been on this great run. This is their 4th straight win. And I had some stats that I put out on Twitter about Carlisle. I mean, the number of wins they've had in the last few games has been pretty sensational. So it's 4 straight wins, 8 wins in 11, 10 wins in 14, and 58 goals in 35 matches. It's looking very good for them as they now sit. I think, is it 5 points above Northampton, who are fourth?
It's a nice cushion to have. Yeah, the biggest compliment I can give Carlisle is that Christian Dennis, who's been on fire this season, got 17 league goals. They don't need to stop. Amari Patrick and Joe Garner's working so well as a partnership at the moment.
Yeah, it's they're just looking. I mean, I'm a big fan of Carlisle. I mean, it's a great city and everything like that. But the club has got really good loyal supporters. They've had owners that maybe not that popular, but they do run the club really well. It's a very tight ship that they run up there, trying to make sure that they don't overspend their way to success. And like I said, they've got it's a 4-point gap, not 5, sorry, 4-point gap between themselves and Northampton. But they've obviously played the same number of games now, so that does give them that little cushion. And the way they're playing, I would love to see Paul Simpson take this team up. It would be amazing if they could do that. Especially, I know we had them something like 18th in our predictions, but I think that's a nod to just how good a job he's done, because I don't think even he thought they'd be anywhere near this good, based on the squad and the budget they had. And it's just, testament to his work he's done there.
Yeah, promotion push ticking along very nicely for the Cumbrians. Can do no wrong right now. Chris, Colchester United 0, Stockport County 1.
Yeah, well, speaking of promotion pushes, I have written here as the first line of my notes, Stockport promotion push on. I mean, they'd have a bit of a dip in form. Only 2 points in their previous 3 games, so they'll be really pleased to have come away with 3 points here. And for Colchester, 4 losses on the bounce. They're still very much in the mix for that relegation battle, although Rochdale and Crawley are still not looking fantastic. It was early chances for Will Collar. He went close for County, but Kieran O'Hara yesterday, I thought he had a fantastic game in the Colchester goal. And eventually County broke the deadlock in the 37th minute. It was a Carl Wotton header after a really nice flick on following Hussey's corner. And just the final line in my notes here is O'Hara kept Colchester in it, but ultimately it was poor finishes that cost them. They didn't look terrible yesterday, but they looked like a team, especially in the attacking front, that's just really lacking in confidence. And, as I say, there's teams below them, 4 teams below them that are not looking great, but they really need to get their shooting boots on. Just looking back at those last 4 losses as well, they haven't scored in any of them, and preceding that was a 0-0 draw with Walsall, so something really isn't going right for them. Yeah,
a little bit uneasy for Colchester at the moment. Do need to look over the shoulder right now. I'm trying to think back to a highlight I watched from this game that didn't originate from a set piece, because it felt like it was all just free kicks and corners, mostly delivered in by Hussey. But I don't think he had
a very good game.
Have we had the chance to mention Ben Garner, or is it?
We did mention him last week. This is his first real game in charge, wasn't it? It was a watching brief, I think, last week. And I don't think you can draw too many conclusions from his first game. I think it's a good appointment, and I think it's a good sign that Colchester have looked outside of their own sort of in-house appointments they tend to do to get a manager with a bit of experience and a bit of credibility.
It's not really a squad built in his image, though, is it? They've been playing largely direct, more cautious football, I find, realistically.
I think he's got a bit of work. He's just got to keep them up, and then he can probably mould a little bit more in his likeness, this squad, in the summer. I do worry that if they get into another bad run of form, then they might struggle. But they have got better players than those below them. I honestly do think that squad's better. So ultimately, it's quality that will get you out of trouble, and I think Ben Garner's got enough about him to be able to get the best out of this Colchester team, despite their recent struggles.
I would hope so, definitely. James, I'm delighted to say we can do this for the first time in what feels like ages. Let's talk about Crawley Town win. Crawley Town 3, Harrogate Town 1.
Oh, blimey, did they need this. It was 6 straight defeats before this match. And, Crawley really had to win this one. They duly obliged, pretty dominant performance. It's funny, the club released a statement asking for unity before the match, where it mentioned that, yes, we know we've made mistakes, yada, yada, yada. And I thought it didn't go down very well with the Crawley fans, because a lot of them have had enough of this WAGMI project and want them out of the club, and they've quickly undone some really solid work done by the previous owners, and they've undone it in a very short space of time. And I think Crawley fans
short amount of time.
Yeah,
it's not like
exactly.
It's not like a lot of these.
They haven't even been at the club 12 months yet. The takeover was at the start of April.
You see a lot of these sort of cowboy owners that come into clubs that were already in a really poor situation, and have made it worse. The likes of Oldham and other clubs. But with WAGMI, it's just so strange that they come into a club that is, I think, fair to say, one of the smaller clubs in League Two, but in a very strong position within themselves, and they've totally destroyed it.
Totally, absolutely ruins what was a great team spirit and a really good rapport. Crawley players and staff had always got, going back to Gabriele Cioffi and even before that, a good rapport with their supporters. And they were asking for unity from the fans. I think the fans have been great all season, considering what they've had to put up with. They've really supported this team. And, this was Crawley's first win in 9 games, ended a run of, of 6 straight defeats. Armidote with a brace, and the impressive Jordan Much with the 3rd goal in this one. Harrogate were extremely poor. The Yorkshire side created almost nothing. Anthony O'Connor-Beckham was a consolation goal. They even had Toby Sims sent off for what was just
stupid red card. Stupid.
Yeah, throwing the ball at a Crawley player because he was standing in front of him in a throw-in. I don't even think there's a rule that says you can't do that. It's a very avoidable 3-match suspension, which they've now picked up in a squad that's really always quite small. I think Ed, isn't it, Harrogate? They don't have a lot of options. So
I think they can get Warren Burrell in at right back, but even still, it's been a consistent backline for ages, and it's going to get broken up now for a bit.
Yeah, does this change much for Crawley this win? Well, it brings them back in, in the sort of chase to try and hunt down Hartlepool, but fans do remain deeply unhappy with how the season's gone. Credit to Ashley Nadesan. I actually thought he had, despite not scoring, I think he got an assist. He had a very good game. He caused no end of problems to the Harrogate backline. He's got such pace, and he was always going to cause them problems, and he did really well. But Armidote takes the plaudits, I think, for his 2 goals. They've needed that, and it's a massive win for Crawley Town.
What we asked from Crawley, go and string it. This is what you need to do down the bottom, and I've addressed this before. They still have not won an away game yet this season in any competition.
Ridiculous.
They need to fight hard, but the fans also need to remember why they're down here. Even if they do they're very much still in the fight, but I think if by some miracle they stay up, keep the fight up against these owners, because they've destroyed this club.
Yep, but that 3 points does make the relegation battle a bit interesting, Chris, because of the other result that happened at Victoria Park. Hartlepool United 1, Northampton Town 1. Yeah,
I think Hartlepool will be pleasantly surprised with this result. Northampton, they just must be kicking themselves. You look at the run of form that Stevenage have had in previous games, and Northampton have been quite similar. The last 6 draw, loss, win, draw,
Yeah.
And this draw yesterday, even more frustrating because Stevenage have got a win in there. Just so annoying. Askey now his first 3 games in charge for Hartlepool. No big new manager bounce. I think he's drawn all 3 of them, but Hartlepool's certainly looking like a better side. Northampton started the game the better team, I think, with chances from Pinnock and Apere. Both goalkeepers on the day I thought were really, really impressive. There was quite a lot of chances at both ends, and both keepers were really called into action. And then eventually Amero opened in the 37th minute for Hartlepool. There were some shouts for offside. I'm not convinced.
I thought it was.
You thought he was? I wasn't totally convinced, but I might need to rewatch it. But what he did do well was get hold of the ball and turn his defender really, really well. And it was a fantastic
Cannot
finish.
put into words how crucial that man is to them.
Oh,
he's probably been their only good signing for.
Dan Kemp's had a really good impact since coming on in January, but definitely since the summer he's been excellent.
Yeah, he's their only good signing since the summer, I think. And then obviously Dan Kemp he's always shown. I think Dan Kemp's always been a player I've kept an eye on because he showed in spells some really positive play, and he's just
definitely
never found a team that have sort of got the best out of him. It'd be interesting to see what happens with him at the end of this season, what his future holds for him, because he's clearly a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was a red card shout in the second half for Ewan Murray, who I've not actually totally seen it. I've just read comments about what happened.
Considering what McGowan's been suspended for, I get why Northampton are annoyed at that.
Yeah,
that McGowan decision just irritates me just thinking about it.
It sounds to me that he's whacked someone in the face and he's got away with a yellow card, which is interesting, but I couldn't find a clip of it on Twitter or in the highlights. And then Northampton got the equaliser in the 81st minute. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the corner that led to this.
I'd like a moment to moan about it as well.
It's
well,
a really,
rolling,
really,
isn't it?
It's a really, really strange one. So it looks like Sam Shering has basically taken the corner to himself and then crossed it in. But what seems to have actually happened is Pinnock, who puts the ball down on the spot, taps it slightly. And from that moment, it's in play, and then Sam Sheringham can run it into the box and get a cross in where it's headed in by Hoskins.
But the problem is the ball. It's fine to do that, but the ball does not stop.
It doesn't
moving.
stop. I've seen goals like this before. I remember it at Premier League. I think there was a goal in the MLS like it. And the key thing is that you stop the ball rolling, you put it on the quadrant, and then you tap it, and that puts the ball live. That tap never happens. It just gets rolled to the spot and left. So the ball technically is not in play.
It's prime shithousery, whether it's legal or not.
It's illegal, is what it is. Let's be blunt about it.
But yeah, Northampton will be pleased to have got something from the game, but will feel that going to Hartlepool, they should be getting 3 points.
I think the way I'm feeling, really, looking at the 2 goals, feeling that's offside, feeling that's illegal, it probably should have been 0-0. So maybe the point for each side is all right. But yeah, I'm not feeling too good about Northampton at the moment.
No, me neither. I mean, if anyone's going to sneak into that top 3, I'd be thinking Stockport.
Does anyone fancy themselves as a fullback, by the way? Because Northampton badly needs some. They've basically got Ryan Haynes and Harvey Linton, that's it.
I used to play right back.
Injury to go for it. Get yourself down there. Go play for the Gobblers. Oh, bit of a mess at Northampton right now. And yeah, the McGowan red card that got rejected. The appeal got rejected by the FA. I just can't wrap my head around it. So silly. Just a really stupid red card. Anyway, we'll move on. Chris, Grimsby Town 1, Rochdale 0.
Yeah, sadly no repeat of last week's wonders from Rochdale. They stayed bottom. Things really not looking good for them there. On 25 points, 5 points behind Hartlepool, same number of games. It looks probably like they're playing National League football next season. Although there's still a few games left, and we've seen stranger things happen. But
it's pretty sad, isn't it, to see you had Bury, Oldham,
I was going to say this, yeah,
all in League One. All of those sides were fairly. I mean, you could argue small clubs in some ways, but
big community clubs, James. Don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just such a shame, isn't it, to see them disappear? I mean, Bury gone completely. You guys looking like both being in the National League. It's just crazy.
Yeah, really, it took us getting to this level to get some decent ownership, and the situation at Rochdale seems to have stabilised, but it seems to be far less than ideal. It is really sad. This game, though, not a classic. Rochdale's still showing like they've got a little bit of fight, but just not quite enough, if that kind of makes
just
sense.
Like a little bit of quality at times, don't they?
Well, they certainly lack quality. They just need a little bit more fight, I think. Jim Bentley's looking a bit like a defeated man, but Rochdale did actually have the best chance of the first half. Devante Rodney managed to get himself round the goalkeeper, and Luke Waterfall for Grimsby had to clear one off the line. There was a shout for a penalty in the second half for Rochdale as well. Again, this is one that I couldn't find a clip of anywhere. It sounds like it was a close call. Malarkey it looks to have been tripped, it seems. I've seen obviously some competing comments. The most diplomatic seems to suggest that the defender's got a toe to it. It's bounced off Malarkey and gone out. I don't know for sure. I've not seen the clip myself. And then Grimsby, they broke the deadlock in the 68th minute in what was the winning goal. A long pass from Harry Clifton to George Lloyd, who he really coolly sort of. I don't know if it's.
I saw DN35 podcast ask this. Is that a chip or a lob?
That's a lob.
And what's the difference?
Well, a lob to me is if you hit it on a volley or a half volley. A chip is if it's coming from the ground and you sort of.
Yeah, you do that action where you dig the ball out.
You've got to dig it up.
Like a golf chip. Golf.
I've even got lobbed written in my notes, so you can take that as
fair enough. I'll accept it.
The law. So not a classic game. Grimsby will be pleased to come away with a win with this one. I think they can be reasonably happy with their season. I don't think they're worrying about going down now.
Well, they'll win the FA Cup anyway, Chris.
Yeah, I think the FA Cup is their priority now.
I think George Lloyd's been a good signing, by the way. And if there's any ambiguity whether it's a lob or a chip, we can just say he's chobbed him. That's from now on. We'll do that.
Chobbed. Don't make that a thing.
What?
It's a chob. It's not a lob or a chip. It's a chob.
How we invent words and phrases on here and they never ever stick. I can give you lads a live score update actually. In 2023, it is now 4-3 between Grimsby Town league wins and Grimsby Town Cup wins. They've almost won as many cup games this calendar year as they have league wins.
Crazy.
That just sums up a season that's going to end them with League 2 again next season, which, to be honest, you know what? As a newly promoted side, not a bad thing.
They've beaten more Premier League sides than one of the teams down the bottom in the Premier
They
League.
do seem to do better against non-League 2 opposition than they actually do League 2 opposition. It's weird how they've had this cup run this year, but you know what, fair play to them. And
I think it might have changed now, but I think they've beaten more Premier League sides than Southampton or something like that this calendar year.
They might well have, yeah. They've got Sutton in midweek, and then they're down at Brighton next weekend. They're going to take over 4,000 fans. Hopefully the Haddocks go with them as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Go enjoy it, Grimsby. A chance to Wembley if they win that. Imagine Grimsby at Wembley in FA Cup semi-final.
Amazing. Great.
Be brilliant. We'll move on. Doncaster Rovers 2, ASC Wimbledon 1. These are a pair of sides, a bit like Grimsby, that I think we can probably put into the League 2 next season bracket. ASC Wimbledon can't win at the moment. They are 8 winless games, just one victory since the turn of the year. Doncaster, you might think look encouraging at their 11th place position, but they are nowhere near consistent enough to make you think that they'll actually end up this season doing anything good. It's a comeback win for Doncaster here, after initially falling behind to just a horrible blunder from Jonathan Mitchell, letting a Josh Davison shot go through him.
To be honest, I haven't seen handling this bad since the BBC tried to reprimand a certain
Got to get another one in there,
presenter for a certain tweet.
Every opportunity. Doncaster do turn it round in the first half through Harrison Biggins and George Miller. There's a pretty funny moment as well in the second half where I think it's Saiku Jane who has an effort that's flying towards goal going in. It ends up hitting his own man, Ethan Chislett, who deflects it over the bar. It's a real hands-on head moment there. You can see it from the whole crowd behind at the away end have just got their hands on their head like, I cannot believe that's just happened.
It was a bad miss.
It's also quite funny, let's be honest. This is a pair of managers who maybe they're starting to feel the pressure a bit. Doncaster have not sufficiently improved under Danny Schofield. The fans seem pretty discouraged with the direction the club seems to be going on at the moment. I'm starting to wonder as well if there might be some doubts about Joey Jackson at Wimbledon. He's got a decent group of players. You really want to see more from them.
Yeah.
But right now they are 15th. They're on the same points as both Grimsby and Crewe, and both of them have got games in hand on them. So they could fall a bit lower before the end of the season. Not looking great at the minute. 3 more games to mention in League 2. Gillingham 2, Tranmere Rovers 0 was the battle of our co-hosts who are both not here today. Harry's away because he's ill. David is away. I can't remember why I said he was away, actually. I think he's...
Just skiving.
Just skiving. Didn't want to get into gloat territory with this win over Tranmere Rovers. Gillingham's opener from Sean Williams, all on his own at the back post, heading from a corner. Terrible marking again. He just arrives completely without any challenge. Second to Gillingham in the second half from Connor Masson after some more great work from Sean Williams in the build-up. Gills just continuing their really strong recovery since their great January window. They are in playoff form since the turn of the year. And good on them. Getting themselves
15
well
points
away.
from 18 at home since Gallison.
Yeah, really strong. Looking really good, particularly Priestfield.
It is a really impressive second half of the season. We thought they were pretty much dead and buried.
And it's nice because it has been a rough 18 months or so for Gills.
It has, yeah. It has.
Yeah, good to see. Newport County 1, Bradford City 1. I'm going to keep talking about funny incidents in this game because we'll get onto that here. Bradford's opener in this, who else? Andy Cook, wriggling into space. 20 league goals this season now. He is taking the mick out of this division. He's got 46.5% of Bradford's league goals this season.
It's a mad stat.
Incredible. Newport's equaliser is a weird one. It's a Mickey Dimitru cross from the right. Basically deflects in off the head of Liam Rydell and goes all the way through. Bizarre. But that's not even the weirdest moment in this game, because I've got to mention a pretty funny incident that happened. Newport County, as people might know, share their Rodney Parade ground with a rugby team. And during this match, you can see that the rugby lines are still visible, albeit they are a bit fainter than the football lines that are put in place. It catches goalkeeper Harry Lewis out, though, for Bradford, who, for some reason, thought that the 22-yard line was actually the edge of his penalty box. So it's a really weird sight to see. It's a harmless loop ball that goes over the top. Lewis comes out of his goal and quite clearly catches it outside the penalty area.
I felt for him a little bit there.
It was quite funny. It's just a yellow card. I'm pleased the referee came to that decision, as it was a very innocent mistake from Lewis. There was no intent to do it, and there was no clear goal scoring opportunity that he was denying. It was a complete accident. Still very funny to watch, though. You've got to say, there's been some weird incidents this weekend in particular across both leagues. Quite fun. The other game to mention, Barrow 0, Sutton United 0 at Holker Street. I will run through the League 2 table to finish. Leyton Orient were scheduled to play yesterday away at Mansfield Town. That game got called off before the weekend due to the snow. They still stay top of the table, though. They're always going to stay top. They're so far ahead. 72 points from 35 games. Carlisle United, their promotion push looking good. Second place, 64 from 35. Stevenage are third on 63 from 34. Northampton Town 4th on 60th from 35. Stockport County 5th on 59 from 36. Bradford City 6th on 59 from 35. Salford City wrap up the playoff places on 56 from 36. Mansfield Town got some games in hand. They are 8th with 55 from 33. Sutton United 9th from 55 from 36. Barrow 10th from 52 from 36. I'm tempted to say that 10th and up is where the genuine playoff contenders are, because I still think Barrow have an outside chance.
I can't see Doncaster going.
No, I'd have to agree, and I think I'm probably looking at 10th and up now. Barrow maybe still with an outside chance under Wild. Down at the bottom, Rochdale 24th, 25 from 36 games. Crawley Town with that precious win closed the gap to those above. They're 23rd, 29 from 34. Hartlepool United looking over the shoulder, 22nd, 30 from 36. Harrogate Town are 21st on 35 from 36, and Colchester United 20th, also with 35 from 36. That is going to wrap up this episode this week. My thanks to both James Richards and Chris Stringer for your amazing contributions to this.
No problem.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
It's great to have presenters and pundits on the show, isn't it?
Yeah,
it makes a difference, doesn't it?
It really does make a difference, for sure. Yeah. Join us again next week for more from the world's best third and fourth tiers. We'll see you then. Goodbye.